Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. We're going to be doing I think, what should be quick and easy, aged looking Halloween inspired reflection cards. Okay, so I have the vintage pre-printed paper for the top portion right up here. And I thought I would go with the gold down below. Gold seemed to suit the temperature of this top paper a little bit more than silver, but silver would be more reflective if I use that. But I just feel that I don't know, the spirit of the piece would look better with gold. So we're going to try this out and see how it looks. If we don't like it, we can always switch out this bottom portion. It's really easy to do, to go with a silver. All right, silver's a lot brighter. You're going to have a lot of light reflecting from this back up here. You see what I mean? It illuminated this part, so I wanted a little bit more dreary. Hello, Froggy Fresh and Patty. Good to see you again. All right, so that's what we have here. A little bit more murky in terms of the tone, and then this gold reflects up there too. So you get a little bit warmth on warm, like that. Hello, Ginger. Okay, so let's see how this goes. Okay, so, I mean, this is going to be like some really easy stamping in terms of whatever the steps involved. The issue that I'm running into, though, with certain inks is on this pre-printed vintage paper, okay, because it has a coating of ink on it, printer's ink, to give it that look. It's just a matter of, the most basic thing in stamping is getting a good impression on it. So just test out your inks, okay? I have dye-based black, solvent black, and water-based pigment black, and then an oil-based pigment black with VersaFine Clair, okay? I have a feeling that VersaFine Clair might be a good choice. Mine's a little bit dry, and I don't know, I just haven't gotten around to looking for my re-inker on it, which should be around here somewhere. I haven't been using this one too often, so I'm not sure where that re-inker is. If I even bought one, I don't remember. So I need to take a look at that, but it could potentially work on this pretty good. But the different brands might act differently from one another. This one has a little bit more of a satin feel to it, and some other ones might be more of a matte, so I'm not sure. Hello, Linda. Hello, Jeannie, Verna. Good to see you, fellas. Good to see you all. Hope you had a nice week. It is really warm here, and it's probably going to get, I don't know what it is in Celsius, but it's about, I don't know, it was 92 degrees outside a little while ago, and it's not that bad indoors, but I have all these lights on me, so it's a good thing that I converted this upper little box of me into monochromatic. Jeannie said to switch it back to color, but when it's really hot, I don't want you all grossed out with someone, like, you know what I mean? Black and white looks better if I'm like sweating, okay, but it's not of like nerves, it's of temperature. Okay, so anyway, this is going to be a reflection card, and okay, so I was doing a little test before I came on. I wanted to see if I can lay down some white pigment ink over the top of it and then stamp an image over the top. I was curious to see how dark the image would stamp out, and it stamped out okay. It's a little bit, yeah, it's like a 50% gray though. Naturally you want black to look black, but so that's going to be the test for myself here. Okay, so here's the reflection cards. I always found that it looked pretty good when something is lighter up here and then it transitions to a little bit darker down here in a reflection, because I like that dark transitioning to dark right here. Sometimes when it's a little bit light down there, I mean, that looks okay, but sometimes what I'm thinking is on the water's edge, there's usually a slope, okay? And I tend to think that it would get darker as it goes down, right? It goes from light to dark, if something's being top lit. So I'm going with this pre-printed vintage paper down here where the darker edge is down here. So the papers usually have a perimeter vignette around them. So this one has a very small kind of vignette, where this one's, it's much wider. I actually tried to make an impression down there. That's the lakeside cabin, but I can barely see it. So I thought, well, we might as well use it. And that's why I was doing some test impressions on the back here too with different inks. So testing to see what works. Okay, so let's see on this first piece here. Let me see. I wanted to go with a kind of a bayou swampy scene so that I can have something kind of rising from the water right in here with little glowing eyes. So I'm going to use the Bayou Shack, kind of the smaller one here. Let's see. Okay, so on reflection cards, there's a lot of different ways to do them, but I tend to think that it looks really good when we create our water line, okay, from where our top piece of paper starts and the reflective foil begins, okay? So say something like this, okay? This one has, the Bayou Shack has the house, but then it has the water reflection in the stamp design itself. So some people, I hope you can see that right there. Some people would stamp this up here, okay? So that the reflection is within the paper. So you get, really the water line would start up here, and then it would transition to this. Now, I mean, that looks okay, but then when you do this right here, that water isn't really so much reflective up here, okay? So if you're going with like the Lakeside Cove, all right, where did I have that? Oh, here we go. The Lakeside Cove here, you see what I mean? Some people, again, they would stamp it up here, right? But I think the better place to stamp it is down here, okay? Because that's the water line right there, okay? And that's what this represents right here. So you'd have this right about right here. So you're not stamping the entire image, okay? All right, so that being said, let's get this inked up and just go for this top portion, okay? Or, I don't know, half of the design. Ink up a little bit more than you think you're gonna need, though. Now, if you're off by, a quarter inch or something like that, don't sweat it. That's not going to matter too much. Okay, so I should draw a little line across this, actually. I'll just eyeball it, though. Okay, so it's starting right there. Where's the other side? It goes like this. So it's like right there, okay? And that's what I'm going to aim right down here, right along that water, like so, okay? Now, I don't expect this to show up very well, okay? Because I'm stamping dark on dark, okay? But the thing about this reflection card is I'm going to bring out the windows, with a yellow pen. So I kind of need it to be a little bit darker in that background for this kind of interior illumination in the hut to show up, okay? Okay, now I'm doing this in the Brilliance ink. Like I said, experiment around with some of your inks if you get these types of papers, because like I said, some of them might be more coated than others. And, I mean, if it's something that's very, very matte and absorbent, then you can use any kind of ink you want on it. I tend to think, though, that probably the ones that have a little bit more contrast to them and detail, they might be a little bit more coated because they have to apply more layers of ink and everything like that they might even do like a satin seal over the top of it just to kind of make the surface a little bit more uniform. I mean, it could, or it could be a matte sealant too, just to lock down those inks too. I don't know. Okay. Oh, that one really came out super dark. Okay, so I guess if I hold it down for 10 minutes, I'm fine. Okay, so you see a tree like this right here? That's the water line right down here, right? And see, that's a reflection, so I'm not going to stamp that up there. You know, if I did it, it would be down here. Now, this is going to be, you know, I wouldn't have it on the same plane as this, but I think we can just get away with it here. So I just want to flank this off with these so that these are going to be reflecting down in this down here. All right, a little bit. I have this area up here. I'm just going to fill it in with some additional imagery. So let's do this on each side of the shack. Okay. I re-inked this, by the way, before I started the video. Okay, so it's right there. I'm going to put my finger right there. I can barely see through my tack and peel here, as you can see. I need to clean it off. When you're tack and peel, which is this material right here that allows you to, you know, adhere temporarily your unmounted stamps. I'm using the cling foam set right here. But the tack and peel, when it gets like really dirty like this, mine has specks of white paint all over it. It's like looks like I have some of that blue tape on there, actually. You can take like a scouring, like sponge or something like that, and when you're running it underneath, you know, water in your sink, you can kind of scrub it off. I use like Dawn or, you know, some dishwashing detergent on it even, and just scrub it off. It, you know, it's not as clear as it was when it was brand new or anything like that. It's a little bit more translucent, but you can see through it, you know, pretty well. I've even gotten pretty aggressive with it one time with the scouring side of like a kitchen sponge, and I don't know, it held up just fine. It was just as, I don't know if it's just as tacky as brand new, but it was super tacky. All right, so I'm getting much better impressions here. You know, in these live streams, I usually don't want to, you know, give something a 30-second impression or something like that, but I don't know. It obviously is working much better than some previous impressions that were really quite light in value. Let's see, Dane goes in on October 12th. He needs to be 3 pounds first. How much does he weigh now, Froggy Fresh? Hello, CM Hawkins. Good to see you. Hope you had a good week, Cynthia. Happy Friday to you. Hello, Vintage Scrap Girl. So why is your pick in black and white tonight? It was last week, too. I was telling people, you know, sweating like a pig in color, that's not too, you know, that's not too good. I was telling Jeannie, too, or, you know, at some point in time. It's like when I'm editing the videos, with, you know, I'm usually trying to remove myself from the, like, the edited videos, you know, like the sped up ones. And sometimes I'm like, I can't get myself out of the shot too much. So it might be distracting, I don't know, for people watching, you know, the sped up versions of videos. I don't know. Maybe I'll put a survey up, you know, Do you prefer the black and white? That would be my vote there. Or the color. Or what about, like, I'll put the neither up there too, you know. Okay, so the cypress trees obviously don't go all the way up to the top, especially because I'm not using the full stamp in this case. You know, it's going to be in the reflection. By the way, so let's get our bearings and take a look and see what the reflection is going to look like right there, okay? So I usually don't do like an overhang on reflection cards. Just because and the space is a little bit different on a reflection card. You know, it wouldn't be there in theory, okay? But I'm tossing out the you know, a lot of the rules when it comes to I don't know if it's a rule, but a guideline for a lot of things in stamping when it comes to my Halloween scenes. I just, you know, I see the Halloween scenes as, not that all scenes can't be like really playful or something like that, but I don't know, the Halloween scenes are a little bit extra. To me, they are. Like, I was looking for some quote stamps, you know, to add in to a scene like this, you know, on the outside of the card, okay? So I thought it'd be kind of funny if you have like some kind of zombie in here or something like that, or something, you know, a bunch of people rising from the grave, and then you have that quote that I've been using for a lot of the baby sea turtles ones, you know, journey of the lifetime begins with one step. You know what I mean? I think that would be kind of funny with a, you know, with like a zombie or something like that. And it kind of sets up I don't know, kind of the unexpected in a way. And maybe someone might be reading that on the outside of a card, and then they open it up, you know, and you get zombie apocalypse or something. I don't know. Maybe with that one, like a single zombie rising, you know, would be better, but... Okay, so on this one too. Okay, so here, like I'm using the bamboo branch because it's like super, super dense. And, you know, I normally wouldn't make something this dense, but, you know, I think this looks really cool with like little eyeballs hidden in the branches. So I'm kind of, you know, making things a lot more dense than normal here. I learned from this though, you know, because like I said, I was talking to some people on the other live stream. You know, when you do these types of things and when you kind of tear down some kind of, I don't know, maybe... I tend to think that I don't have like some preconceived notions, but I obviously do, because doing those monster maps last year and changing kind of my notions of, or altering, tweaking, whatever, extending my notions of kind of scenic depth and perspective on those ones. And it was really nice to be able to, you know, just throw that out basically and not worry about, or not, you know, not even think about, you know, scale relationship between imagery, you know, with that type of scenario. So yeah, see, like that's like really dense up there. Okay, now in these reflection cards, one of the things that I found out that I tend to forget if I don't do them very often is they look better when you have kind of contrast within here, because it needs to be reflected down below. Okay, so see what I mean down here? If I added anything more to this area, like... see, that in itself, if I was doing this as like a winter card, you know, or Halloween type of card, that would be a little bit too light for me in there, so I would tone in some other tones in here, or do some streaks across my sky. But the reflection's not like a 100% reflection, especially in gold, so this is making it darker like this. So I have to leave this light like that, okay? So I'm not going to put stuff in there. I mean, you could put something really simple. You know, you got some bats flying or something like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like a bulkier kind of tonal type of thing in there. But we're just going to leave it like that, okay? So, no, that makes our, I don't know, our life easy as stampers. Not having to fill in maybe as much, I don't know. Okay. Black and white or color. Ginger, you didn't add in the or none, whichever you are happiest with. Okay, switching over to StaysOn. I don't know if that was a good idea of tapping this right on into the Brilliance ink. I guess it doesn't matter. Some of that brilliance probably went into this though. Okay, so I'm switching to StaysOn because down here, on this gold foil, the brilliance will dry, but it won't adhere. So, if you use brilliance ink down here, you just spray seal it, okay? But spray sealing of those types of metallic foils like that, it frosts over the foil a little bit, making it a little bit less reflective, okay? Sometimes that works to our benefit, like say if the, like holographic cardstock or something like that is just like so crazy bright up in the sky. Sometimes kind of frosting over down here looks pretty good, but generally for a reflection card, I like to have the reflection reasonably strong, so I don't like to spray seal if I don't have to. So that being said, I've said this before, so apologies to people who keep hearing it over and over, but if you're spray sealing this, have this about a good few inches away from this. Hold this up like this, and then spray seal like this, the Brilliance ink. Okay, the StaysOn, again, you don't need to spray seal the StaysOn. I'm talking about the Brilliance Black, which I was using a lot of back then because I'd like to add in a little bit of a vignette down here. But I kind of stopped doing that with the reflection cards. Again, because if I don't have to spray seal, all the better. But that being said, if I want to stamp out something like an open design down here and I need to block off some of it with some white so that you can see the image more, with these leaves I don't have to worry about because they're just solid black leaves. But if there's an open image, like if I stamp the snail shell, crawling down here in black ink over that, the entire area in the snail is going to be gold, right? So if I want it to stand out a little bit more, I have to lay down a little bit of white or something like that, a lighter tone with some Brilliance ink, and then stamp that right over the top of it, probably in black, and then you would be able to see that snail more. Okay, so on reflection cards, I like to go with imagery on the left and right side to block off the reflection, or the part of the card, the top card that's not being reflected in the lower portion. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Usually it's a tree or something like that, like a large pine tree a lot of times with me. But in this scenario, we'll go a little bit different. So, okay, so this is down here. You can see where that image is right there. You can see all my stuff on my desk here. There's the imagery like that, okay? And this goes on top like this, okay? So, see what I was talking about, right? This is reflected down this way. Okay, so it goes in like an angle this way because this is going back in perspective from this horizon line right here. So if I don't have that shrubbery on each side, okay, we have these like triangular dead zones on each side, okay, where this is not being reflected. So we have this little area down here. I mean, it's not, I mean, this is like a little detail. I don't know, it's not that little, like a medium detail. So if you do this like this, at least you have something on each side of this, okay, I mean, we used to have that little area up here. You know, you can put something up there if you want to. That, you know, little tiny things like that don't really bother me. But I just want to break up this reflected line, you know, from this edge down here to some degree. And plus, when you go like this now, you get this foreground in here too. So it looks like there's a lot more depth. I mean, this to me looks three-dimensional because this reflection down here, it seems farther back in the distance. All right, so let's see. I was thinking about putting my little creature like this down here. You know, I could have it like coming out of the water. I think I'm just going to put them right on the water or in the shallows. Yeah, I'll put them in the shallows here, so. And then I can make his little eyes glow as well. So, hopefully it looks kind of three-dimensional. This. I'm being really careful here because it's really easy to take these smaller designs and to skew it. Thankfully, we have Linda. Linda's in the house, and she did some testing, and she said, hey, she did the testing for us, and on this type of really reflective foil like this, the mirrored foils, you can clean off. If you get, you know, an image skewed on here, stays on cleaner. We'll just take your image right off, you know. And no problem. And if it does have a problem, Linda will, you know, refund your money. We're joking here. Don't I am Linda asking for her contact info. Okay, so this is the Tiny Rock Small. And having these little pebbles down here kind of makes it where this water area down in here, it'll make it represent that it's more in the shallows, right? Because you can see, or I don't know, whatever, on the mud plane or whatever, like that down there. Oh, and one of the things I like to do too is, see at the base of these trees right here? Okay, I like to bring in this right around the base of the thing. I don't know if you'll be able to see what I'm doing here on video, but if you have the card, you'll be able to see these rocks. And it was like these rocks are kind of, they look like they're raised out of the water a little bit. Let me see if I can give you the gist of that, what I'm talking about here. Okay, let's see if you can see it. See that? I don't know if you can see those rocks right in there. If I can get the angle, see this right here? If you can see that a little bit. See, here's this thing. But then you have these rocks coming out this way. Like that. If you really want to play around with perspective too, you can go with the larger Tiny Rock, smaller rocks and water. And then you have the smaller ones back there. I'm not going to bother with that though. I don't know, when I have it like at this angle, you can see those rocks a little bit more, but you can't see the reflection so much. So it makes it a little bit more three-dimensional though, I think. Okay. All right, a couple more things on this. I have my little cypress. I can't remember the names of these things. These little things coming out of the water. Around those cypress. Someone always knows the answer for this type of thing here. I forgot the name of the stamp. I haven't used it in a little bit of time. So knees, cypress knees. All right, so I'm adding these in here like this. All right, so see that right there? All right, so we got this little bottom portion down here, okay? So all we've done is we've made impressions in here. Sorry about these reflective types of demonstrations on foils. It's really hard to you know, show that. Okay, you see these knees in there, kind of leading up there. See these types of things on this foil leading up to kind of this. Not really this, but it's more so the reflected area in there. See that right there? Look how kind of three-dimensional that looks. I mean, it is three-dimensional because we have this, you know, but we're not doing anything 3D in here as far as an application goes. So, okay, now for like visual harmony, what I've been doing, if I'm just working on this paper, like for the windows or something like that, I might go with more of a tan color white paint pen. But I want more contrast and kick in this one because I really want this reflection to stand out. So I'm going to take a white pen and I'm going to color in those windows in there so that they reflect, because I have to create a little bit more of a contrast, or as much contrast as I can up here, so that it reflects down there, because see that's lighter than that down there because this is on, you know, the gold foil. So I think just creating a lot more contrast will work. And then I want this little, you know, this little creature's eyes to be glowing. That little creature's Edward Gorey, and it was out of this set, I don't know, 20 years ago probably. Like a cheap set. I mounted it onto wood, but it was one of those cracked foam types of sets where the, you know, the stamps are mounted on a, you know, a piece of foam, probably squared off or something like that. But I, you know, and then I took the sticker off. I think they had a pack of stickers that you were supposed to stick on top of the foam. The good thing is, I think they probably had it made in China. It doesn't look like it's 100% red rubber, but it's, I don't know. It's not one of those like super cheap rubbers that, you know, with the thing's like full of, you know, like chalk filling. Okay, all right, let's see here. Let me shake this up a little bit. Let's see. A Darth Vader mask. But then I would need James Earl Jones's voice, wouldn't I? Or I don't know. Maybe I can fake it. My voice is pretty, you know, deep. Oh, I was watching, speaking of Darth Vader, I was watching, you can watch on YouTube, what does it say? It's like, the reasons why you don't use, you know, whatever, the real actor for Darth Vader's voice, because as he's going through, he's giving all the Darth Vader dialogue. You know, that James Earl Jones filled in later, and it sounds it's really funny. All right. There we go, like that. All right. You have a not too steady of a hand, but you know, reasonably steady drawing in. If you want to keep that, yeah, whatever that. What do they call it when you buy windows? It's like a so many light window, right, or something like that. If it's has those. I don't know, whatever that framing or whatever in there, but see that really stands out in there like that. And then, yeah, let's add it to the creature now too. Okay. See the little creature down there, like kind of a little glowing a little bit. It wouldn't be bad to have a little bit of a vignette down here. You know, some darker color. Actually, that looks a little bit. When I went like this, I thought, oh, that looks a little bit too light, like that. But the viewing angle is something like, you know, between here and here. So Yeah, hopefully that little creature looks, it looks like, I think it looks reasonably like it's kind of popping out at me, in three-dimensional. Um, I don't know how it looks on your screens there. Okay, so see this area up here and around in here. Let's tone that in a little bit. Oh, here. Let's do this too, here. Let's create a little bit of, this is a little bit too big. Let's go with the small reeds, and then let's add like a little cluster of foliage down here, okay? Okay. If you just joined in, I'm going to be holding my stamp down for a little bit of time here for this ink to really transfer over. Hello, Bonnie. Candy. Kevin said of Edward Gorey just sold on eBay for $99.99 plus shipping. Oh my gosh. I have a beautiful set of Edward Gorey pieces, but custom wood mounted, going for, do I hear, $125. Who would have thought, huh? It was one of those cheap sets, there was Edward Gorey, and there was probably, I don't know, a few other sets. At the time, I don't know if like that, was it Masterpiece Theater, or what theater was it with Diana Rigg hosting? But they had that little intro on, this is on PBS, okay? I never watched any of them, but sometimes I would watch just that intro, but that was an Edward Gorey animated intro to that. I don't know, it was like Mystery Theater or something like that, and I don't know, probably someone died or, got shot, or something like that in that little intro. So I don't know, maybe Edward Gorey was on the map. And at the time, I think they had just released a bunch of Edward Gorey books, in which I have 3 of them. So I don't know, maybe it was on the radar a little bit. You don't hear people talking about that or something like that, Edward Gorey, But, and that's his real name, too, I didn't know that for a while. I was wondering if it was like fake Edward Gorey, because he kind of drew, illustrated, things of kind of fun gore, or something like that. Okay, now see this right here? That created a little bit more of like a waterside type of thing, although that cypress tree is supposed to be in, the water itself or growing out of it. But see, didn't that... Now that's not going to probably be as dark as it looks right now, because when this ink dries, it's going to absorb into the pulp of this paper a little bit more. But I think that added to it. You can even add... See, I went with this bamboo kind of foreground right here too, but you could add, 2 types of textures in here too. Maybe that would be a little bit too much, I still want to see, some little delineation between my foreground and the area, or the objects that are reflecting down here too. So, on these reflection scenes, again, sometimes it's good to keep them a little bit more simple for readability, because you have these things, reflecting into one another, especially if you're using a metallic up here. This is reflecting up in there, and that's reflecting down here. You know what I mean? You get those reflections kind of bouncing around up there. Okay, so let's do a little bit of extra toning right up here. I think I want to add some eyeballs up there. I'm going to do it with the dye-based ink, okay? And not a brilliance. This little thin layer that the dye tones just fine up here. See this kind of open area up here in that branch? I don't want to block it out completely, but I just want to kind of... I don't know, I need it a little bit more, whatever, like congealed. And this kind of darker perimeter up here now too, it looks a little bit more, I don't know, it looks a little bit more, Oh, kind of spooky, I guess, or something. Let's do it a little bit around on the edge, too. All right. There we go, like that. So it kind of brings more attention down here, don't you think? You know, having that darkened up there. I get some birds or something up there would be good. I do have a larger bat design or something like that. But again, I wouldn't fill this up with too much in there. Or you can put a little... The word stamp, too, yeah, if I have a word stamp up here, I like it. But sometimes, like in here, it would reflect right down in here. Sometimes I don't like a upside down backward word reflected down here. Whereas if you stamp something high up here, like maybe if you stamp something in white up here, see, by the time that reflection is showing down here, it's really muted and you can't see it. So I think word stamps look good in here. Or you can stamp a word stamp like on the water where it looks like it's floating on the water. You know, white stays on or something like that would be good. Okay, so we have that. Let's add in a couple little extra little... Oh, here, I'm going to do this in green, like a real kind of fireflies. That's pretty crazy with the Edward Gorey. When I used it last year, or maybe it was like 2 years ago, someone really wanted that stamp. Oh, I used it in a cave scene. And it was like a, you know, it was in the spirit of like a golem type of thing from Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, you know. And at that time, I don't think it was like $100 or something like that, but and there was only like 1 or 2 listings, and it was listed for quite a bit. I don't think it was a sold amount, but it was up there. So like I said, I don't know too many people that were, you know, like into Edward Gorey or something like that. So I wouldn't have thought, you know, I mean, it's kind of like funky imagery too, and it's just to the general public too. So, and it was just kind of interesting to me to see that in the store. All right, so there's these little, you know, green little fireflies in there. I don't think I'm gonna make them glow. I'm just going to leave them like that. And then let's put a couple of them down here, but let's put them like they're like sitting on some of these leaves in here. I won't go too much because I don't want to detract from the glowing eyes of the creature, you know what I mean? So maybe I'll just do like really small ones on here. That's the thing that you want to avoid doing. You don't want to detract from, you know, like monster eyes. All right. Okay, so here's the this little glowing, you know, little dots down in here. Let me see if you can see it. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I'm not going to glue this down right now, but, you know, so we have something like this. I'm going to stamp something like a word stamp out here. I was thinking like a real simple one. Here, I even did it before, like night, you know what I mean? In white right here. I'm just do it like that. Or you might do it in like a light green if you have a light green pigment ink pad. If it'll show up on, you know, black. I know the white will, though. And you just stamp out like night. Or I have this other quote stamp that says night music, you know. It's like a little symphony of things in here. So this is what it would get right here on this scene right here. that opening up like so. You know, so I like that movement in the reflection area. When I'm looking at these reflection cards, when I'm viewing them like this, for me, kind of the excitement's all in this lower section right here. My entire focus tends to be down here with these whenever I do them. You know, because I'm doing scenes like this, you know, my whole whatever adult life, you know what I mean? So it's in those reflected areas like that that really, I don't know how many I've done, you know, reflection cards at this point in time, but I never get tired of seeing this because you're seeing your images kind of use, you know, you're seeing them in a different, I don't know, whatever perspective or something like that. They look different, you know, and they're also kind of moving like that too. So it's really fun. And I don't know if this is the first reflection card I did with the Bayou Shack or not. It might be. I might have went too light with these little foreground little fireflies because I can't even see it in here. I can barely see it. Here, I can afford to go a little bit brighter on. I'll make a couple of them a little bit bigger. So, a couple on both sides, I should say. We'll go like that. So I like doubled the size of the dot. Okay. Looks something like that. That looks a little bit better. Yeah, you know. And the eyes of the you know, the creature is still the lightest things there. Oh, look at the reflections of the shack are in the water. They're, you know, they're gold. So and here's that's fun too. These little dots up here. There's enough contrast up here for those little fireflies to be showing down in that water area as well. So yeah, it's kind of fun. How long did this card take? So yeah, it's a little bit. It's not that quick of a card, but I don't know. For not having too much planned out, that's not too bad, I think, for this construction here. I think, you know, if I was to do this again, or you know, whatever, there was a class or something like that, I bet you I can talk someone through the construction of this card in like a half an hour, I think, you know, knowing all the imagery used on all the steps that were added down there. But here we have it like that again. You see this, those rocks in here, those little pebbles, you know, the tiny rocks small. See them, how they're raised above, you know, that reflection of those, you know, areas right in there. So that's what I really like about them. And not too different from, you know, the colors don't change too much. The colors change a lot when you're using a reflective, a metallic up here, to pair it with the metallic down below, and you get that dual reflection. So this is just like straight, just reflection card, you know, without a additional whatever lighting dynamic of a reflective material used for that top portion. Remember this? I mean, this, you know, this would look really cool too if you're stamping on like a clouds, you know, photograph in the background. You know what I mean? It will look spooky. I mean, you could if you do it in like a black and white photograph in the background instead of this vintage paper. But I think this vintage paper looks pretty good in this context right here, you know, for the Halloween scenes. Okay, so I need to try that out now that I mention it, you know, going with some black and white photographs for kind of more ominous, stormy looking photo stamping pieces. Let's see. Froggy Fresh wants Lord of the Rings stamps. I don't know if that ever existed. I was thinking if anything existed like that, it would probably be back in the Ralph Bakshi, you know, original animated Lord of the Rings that era of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, those animated pieces, because that's when, you know, probably someone like All Night Media would have been able to secure the licensing for it. the only people that were licensing stuff, you know, like popular stuff back when this, you know, this live action Lord of the Rings came out was probably Rubber Stampede, but I don't think they ever, you know, I can't remember anyone ever getting that. Now you might find some pirated ones. I'm not promoting pirated, you know, anything, but you know, I've seen some other things where it's not going to say like Elron, you know what I mean? But it'll say, you know, the description for it that looks a heck of a lot like Elron would say like, you know, elf, whatever, king or something like that, you know. Okay, so let's do this second one here. I'm going to try something on this one. I'm going to try to apply a moon on this scene, on this paper, with a white pigment ink, and then stamp over it with a, you know, the black pigment ink to see if it, see if that'll work at all on this type of paper. I'm looking at this right now. Maybe this isn't dark enough here. Maybe I need to put a little bit more tone to begin with here. But that would be cool, Froggy Fresh. Yeah. When that Lord of the Rings came out, even just seeing the previews for it, man, I was like, wow. I can't wait till that comes out. But then I was, I don't know, I think we all, I don't know, my friends and I, man, I mean, we really loved that, that movie. And it took forever back then for the DVDs to come out. And then the DVDs came out, and a bunch of people bought the DVD, and then they came out with the DVD extended versions of the movies with like, it wasn't like 5 minutes of added footage. It might be like 20 minutes of added footage. So everyone was like, my friend got a little bit angry at that. He bought the DVD pack, and then by the time the second one came out, he's like, hey, I'm not falling for that again. So he waited to get that. But the first one, you know, when that extended version came out, he gave me his, you know, first one. Because I think the short one was included in the extended one too. All right, I'm looking for my hole punch here. I need my 1-inch hole punch. It was hiding behind my glow-in-the-dark paint that I just used. Okay, so you can see this. You know, I toned this in here so that we can see the moon more. Let's see. I need some copy. Here's copy paper here. I notice my papers like this look a little bit nicer using the sponge application more than the paper towels. All right, so that's our moon right there, a 1-inch moon. And let's see where I need to stamp this out. Let's get this. This is going to be this ridge up here with this lady writer, but I'm going to color her in so that she's like all in silhouette. And then I'm going to give her some glowing eyes there. And back. I think the weather is my problem. You lost your connection. Huh, the weather? What's the weather like where you are? In July, the Gorey set sold for 150 plus ship. Huh. Can you imagine if someone had those Gorey sets then? I mean, there's a Edward Gorey fan base out there. I'm guessing that's who's buying those things. I think there's an Edward Gorey museum somewhere. Or there used to be. Okay, so I'm not going to go too high up here. I'm going to make this little hill that our character's standing on. You don't want to go too high up here because you want your character to be reflecting down here, okay? And the farther you get away from this point right here, you know, the reflection of this in here gets weaker the farther you get away from this. So right here to here, you know, that's whatever, 9 inches or something like that. But down here, you know, it's like 1 inch, you know, 2 inches, 3 inches, something like that. That's your sweet spot as far as your reflections go. They get broken up here, you know, which is kind of, you know, I mean, that's okay because it kind of adds to that kind of illusion of depth where you have something kind of in focus, and then the farther you get away from it, it's out of focus, right? So that all adds to it. But that being said, like you know, you want to be aware of that in terms of your kind of focal point placement. You know what I mean? So if you have something that you want reflected down in your reflective area, and it's like a, you know, significant kind of whatever visual landing point, don't put it up here. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess if it's something's like, you know, there's this like gigantic thing and it's taking up the whole space in there, you can do that. But you know, smaller elements, you know, go a little bit lower on there. I need spooky quotes, huh? Yeah. Like, what are some spooky quotes? There's the Dracula one. What is it? You know, like just good evening, you know what I mean? Spooky sentiments, though, huh? Maybe I'll do that. You know, I was going to come out with a. I've always had this. I've had this one kind of Halloween set. I never kind of expanded on it, but I had a bunch of. I don't know, not a bunch, but a few designs, and you know, I don't know if people would want like an entire sheet of spooky things, but if it was, you know, paired with a bunch of images, I think that'd be pretty cool. Okay, so that is that, and here's my character right here. So this character is going to be this way, but just measuring it right here. So my moon, you know, I want my moon to be like right here. Maybe even a 2-inch moon would be even better. I don't have a 2-inch punch, or I don't know. I could have my wife do it on like a Cricut, you know. I'm looking around. I don't see anything else in here, like a bottle top. I don't think I want. I don't feel like doing that right now. I do have a embossing powder bottle top that's round, but you know, I'd cut it out like that. I don't feel like doing that right now. But so this would be like right here, okay? That portion of that. So give it bearings right there. And this is gonna. It's almost like dead center of this card, right here. Let's bring this down. I'm going to bring this down a little bit lower like this, though, so that I'm not so dead center. So let's go like this. Oh, I know, Dodo. See this right here? That's dead center. You don't really want that in a scene like this, I think. So let's go a little bit more rule of thirds, and we'll bring our character out here, okay? And let's go with the moon like this. Maybe a little bit. Let's do that right there. Maybe it's better because this whole area was a little bit darker anyway. Okay, I just re-inked my white pigment ink pad too, my white brilliance pad. When this ink dries, it dries a little bit darker, you know? Keep that in mind. So if you get it kind of the lightness that you want on a lot of different surfaces, you know, pigment inks, white tends to look, you know, if you're using white, you're using it over something that's darker. You're not going to put white on white usually because it's not going to show up at all. So it dries a little bit more see-through than what it looks like when it's been freshly applied. So you know, just keep that in mind. You keep that in mind, so you might apply a little bit more than you think looks, whatever, ideal. Okay. So I kind of slathered it down on there pretty good. So there's that moon. That looks pretty interesting just as is, huh? Just a few trees or something like that. Look at that scene down there. Look at that water and that gold. And look at this aged kind of thing down here. This looks like a, I don't know, like a landscape painting or something like that. You know, that old, whatever, style. Classical style. That looks pretty cool. Like that. Huh. All right. I might have to heat set this a little bit. I want this to accept the image over the top of it. Let's see here. Let me let that dry for a second here. I need to make a zombie card, but I'm working on that trestle. Make a zombie trestle. Zombie apocalypse, you know, what is that? You know, whatever, HO scale. Kill two birds with one stone, Froggy Fresh, you know? You'd have to kind of, you know, antique all of your trestles and everything like that, you know, and make them, you know, you'd have to like topple, you know, a couple, you know, trains or something like that as well. We want an entire sheet of Halloween imagery. Yeah, and the sentiments, yeah, you know, coupled together. So I had like a zombie, you know, kind of thing, and what else did I have on it? I'd have to take, I got to take a look. You know, there were the tombstone types of things. All right, let's see how this goes here. Oh, not the stays on. Stays on stamps out really, you know, light on this paper. The thicker Brilliance ink for I don't know, for my money. On this brand, okay, like I said, it could be different for different brands of you know, this antique paper. Oh, I have a surprise I'll show you guys for the next video or live or something like that that I got. I'll let it be a surprise. Paper that I'm going to test some imagery on. All right, so I'm just thinking about, should I wipe off the bottom of those feet a little bit? I don't think I need to down here. Sometimes I do, so that the horse looks like it's standing in there a little bit more. Oh! I was thinking about this way, looking into the scene. Now it's like this. We can't use a reverse impression stamp either, because that's going to be way too much. Okay, so I'm going to go like this. There was this, when I was in high school, there was, and I was all into like comic book art and everything like that. There was this one artist, Frank Frazetta. Froggy Fresh, do you know Frank Frazetta? Some of you other might know him, but he did a lot of like illustrations for like a lot of book covers and things like that. But there was this one real famous scene called The Death Dealer that I always liked. The print of it looked like this, I don't know, weird looking, kind of almost demonic, like barbarian type of thing. You know, he'd illustrate a lot of like, if you needed like someone painting like a barbarian, it would be Frank Frazetta or this other guy, Boris Vallejo. But when I was thinking about this image like this and me coloring all this in here, I thought that would be like the Death Dealer, you know, except Death Dealer had like, you know, like axes and everything like that, weapons. But, you know, even, you know, not a, you know, a spooky scene, you know, I think that looks pretty interesting like that down there. Yeah, so, Linda mentioned, yeah, the gold and the antique paper. It makes for a really good pairing, doesn't it? Like that. Like, even just that alone, I think that makes for a pretty interesting scene. But see, here's that thing right here. with these edges like this, these shards like going up, you know, that little triangular thing. I do like to kind of eradicate this, but this looks like something like a little, you know, like a rider on the prairie or something like that, you know, on the open prairie. I don't know. I don't really like that. I'm going to redo this scene too. I think I'm going to do a slimline card, right? So it'd be like this. So less this, and then have this character just like an open thing down here. I don't know. You know, it'd look cool down here too. In a non-spooky scenario. I guess you could do it, you know, but the fences right here, you know, coming in from, you know, the sides like this or something like that. You know, I don't know if you'd have a fence next to a pond, but, you know, you could. All right. I'm geeking out here. I love that look, though. All right, where did that reed stamp go? Let's put a little bit of reeds down here again for kind of that transition into the water. You know what I mean? Because you often have like cattails or, you know, that water types of flora down here. Can't really see it over here too much because it's, you know, that vignette of the papers over there. And this would be a good part for like a quote up here. I know I said this is going to be a spooky scene. I want to leave it like that, though. Maybe. Those glowing red eyes, though, on that might look pretty cool, too. Or just glowing white eyes, actually. See that right there? So, okay, so here's the transition into water, and you can see that little area reflecting down in that water a little bit, like that. Like so. No one thinks that this is hard to do right here, right? You know, that little slope right there. We toned in, you know, with the sponge, and then we stamped a bunch of cattails down here. Masked out white. Straight impression on top of it, right? Okay. When I add this type of thing, you know, I think this looks pretty dramatic just as is, like that. But then when people see that on like Facebook or something like that, not in the Stampscapes group, but like on like Stamp Junkies or something like that, the comments, I'll never be able to do that. You know what I mean? I mean, all we're gonna do is just stamp a couple things on this in StazOn. But I mean, this is a really simple composition right here, and whatever process, right? Hopefully it looks kind of, you know what I mean? You don't want someone to take a look at your, you know, our pieces and say, hey, that's, you know, that's really nice. Boy, that, you know, that must have been really fast to do. You know, you don't want that type of response to it, but, you know, but when you're doing, you know, if you're trying to instruct people on, you know, ways to do it like this video is for, you know, you don't want it to, you know, people to think that they just absolutely, you know, I'd never be able to do that. I mean, these are like stampers too. They're not just like people that don't do any crafting, you know, on these groups. But, and I can't convince them a lot of times. All right. Not hard to do, you know, on that, right? I'm not going to be doing too much on this lower portion down here. I guess you could have the creature coming out of the water again or something like that. I want to do the creature of the Black Lagoon sometime. I need to pull out that image. Everyone always wants that one too whenever I use it, you know, periodically or once a year or something like that. But look at that. Look at that reflection of that down here with those reeds like that. Okay, all right. Let's see what this looks like in a Halloween scenario. let's stick with the theme of this live stream here. Yeah, the moon stencil. Let's go with whatever size. I think it. I guess that was the right size, but maybe 1.5 inches would have been a little bit bigger. You know what I mean, or nicer, so that I can get some of that horse in there. Okay, so the one thing that's surprising me is I thought that this. I guess I re-inked that white too, so it's a little bit thicker maybe with that one application, but I expected that to get a lot more see-through than what it is. Okay, so I'm gonna make this much more of a silhouette here and fill this in to make the writer very backlit like this. Like I said, I'm definitely going to do this composition again, but without kind of whatever, demonic glowing eyes. But again, it's this paper, that antique paper that's really awesome to work with here. All right. I wonder if they're... Oh, okay, so here. Let's do these little rocks in the water again. All right. There is kind of an up and a down to this stamp, but if you stamp it upside down, it's not, so important that it matters a whole lot, if any. Just as what I'm talking about is each one of these little dots on here. Okay, there's like the top portion is rounded like that, and the side that goes on the bottom is flat, where it's going here, like, if it was this big, it would be like this. So you stamp with the flat side down. I mean, it's subtle, okay? But just so you know. Okay, now let's add in this part of the pond here. Let's add in some more of these rocks down here. About like that. Okay, so there's our little character here. All right, and then we need like a sickle or something like that, coming out like this, and like they're writing with that here. All right, where's my white pen? Here we go. All right. So this character, normally it's looking off into the distance because I have her hair coming down here, which is illuminated. But with a silhouette, if you have things kind of blackened in like that, they could be looking either way, you know what I mean? Because it'd be the same thing. So, without any kind of thing on the back. So let me see. I'm going to put their eyes like right here. And if I don't like it, I'm just going to fill it in, and make it, into that, I don't know, whatever thing on the prairie or something like that. Oh, it'd be cool on here. Okay, so that's just not really spooky looking, but we need like a leafless tree in here, okay? So let's do that to make it a little bit spookier of a scenario here. All right. This for sure, yeah. Okay, so... yeah. Here we go, this will balance it out too. This was kind of much farther along that, whatever that section of the meadow there, so this will balance it off a little bit out that way. Usually I like to have things going into my scene, okay? Not riding off like that off the edge. Unless you're doing a sequential piece where you're doing like a 3 or 4 part panel, you know, and people are checking out each piece in sequence, you know, it's okay to have something kind of towards the end because that compels someone to, you know, turn the page like that. All right, let's see. Let's wipe off a little bit of this base here. I'm gonna have this tree kind of going into that area right there. So this tree is going to be a little bit more in the foreground, and I'm going to put one kind of in the distance back there, a smaller version. Oh, good night to Froggy. What time is it for them? They're 10, so they got a lot of animals to take care of in those mornings. It was a record high of 112 today. Oh my gosh. That's insane. Now we're having some atmospheric instabilities. Yeah. That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying to Linda up there, in, you know, in her area is, yeah, we need like a, so we got that hurricane that came through, you know, it turned into a tropical storm, but we need a couple more of those, even if it's like a 1 or 2 day storm like that. But 112, wow. It did get a little bit cooler, but then it, you know, like I said, we're back up to the, you know, the low 90s again here. The only time I've been in 112, I don't know if Las Vegas was high. I don't think it got that high. I think it was 106 or 7, but Death Valley, you know. But I went out there, you know what I mean, to do some night hiking. So the temperatures at nighttime were, you know, it's like an 80s or something like that. So real pleasant night hiking. Okay, so this is the smaller leafless limb, and I'm masking off that ridge line right there, or whatever, that slope, to make it look like, you know, the tree is on the back side of it. All right. Like that, and let's put another one back over here. I'll go higher, lower. Let's go lower. So everyone know about that, you know, using partials. You know, to really make use of your imagery and to give the illusion of depth. But then you have the same type of form like this used multiple times, and it creates kind of, you know, a textural or shape continuity through your piece. Okay, so that's just a little bit of it down there, and I'll put another one back there. I'll kind of overlap this other one. No, I'll just put it right there. So just using maybe the top ½ inch of this one or so, right here. Okay. All right, so we have that. So it's kind of a little bit more of a grim scenario here. Let's take a look and see what it looks like. All right, so we have that. Yeah, it's a little bit more Halloween-ish, right? You know, some like bats up there if you want to, something like that. And you see these tiny rocks down here. Look at how they move against that lighting like that. You know, the moon down there. These tiny rocks right here. Stamp that. I'm trying to get here. See those right there? But see how they move against that when someone goes like this. So that really makes it really kind of cool and dimensional right in there, in my opinion, like that. All right. Yeah, and something like some kind of word stamp up there would be kind of cool. Let's add a little bit of highlighting in here. Let me switch out to my from my white, because I want that moonlight to really kind of stand out a little bit more than maybe some of the reflected light down in here. But this gets a little bit kind of monotonous down here. So let's add in a little bit of highlights in here. It is pretty dark, so I don't want to use too much of this, you know, to make it look, you know, all bright and cheery or anything like that. I don't know if it could, but, you know, it already looks kind of grim. So I'll just add a few of these down here like this, just for a little bit textural changes. All right, so not like that. You know, it kind of brings that bottom area to life a little bit. Okay. I don't know if it, yeah, they do reflect down in that water too. You know, you can see all those little highlights down there. So see, this is like a big, huge kind of empty space right in there. So, you know, adding that little bit of lighting in there, that looks pretty good. Let's add a little bit more. All right, yeah, I think that adds to it a little bit. So it's not anything too big or, you know, significant. Let's go with those little, some of those spooky eyes in here. I call it the Scooby-Doo kind of eyes. You know, down there in that, you know, in the darker areas like that. Those cartoon types of, you know, haunted forest scenarios or something like that. And we could do it down here too, but maybe not. I tell you what, so you see some of these rocks are down here, like that. I'm going to add in a little bit of a reflected kind of light on some of them. Okay. Like that. Yeah, that might be crawling with little highlights a little bit too much. I'm not sure. It's not too bad. They look like a little bit more surface. Actually, I think that I like it like that. Now that I look at it, see that? Those little highlights down there kind of standing out like they're almost like they're floating on the surface of this water now. And like these down here. I don't know, maybe a couple less because it really kind of stands out down there. All right. So that is my little, these are my Halloween looking scenarios here. I just wanted to see what these vintage papers would look like paired with the gold like that. I think they're really fun little, you know, looks here. And again, you know, we were talking about it this last week with this type of pre-printed vintage paper. It really does give you a pretty big head start to the completion of the scene, should you want to go for that, you know, that type of look in a scene. So sometimes, you know, some of this paper. I mean, it looks aged, so it's supposed to look antiqued and weathered and everything like that. So sometimes I'm kind of used to having some, some I don't know, a little bit of brighter elements or something, to kick up scenes a little bit, not going backwards to make things look real aged and kind of, with a really, small range of intensity. So, playing around with the gold metallic pairings has been fun. And I wouldn't say it was eye-opening because I thought it could go with it pretty well because warmer tinged surfaces look pretty good with the gold paper pairing. Okay, let me get this. Like I said, I'll tape these down later. But I'm trying to get the angle right here without holding it here the whole time. But I wanted to show you those other things right here. So I think this aged paper too, you've seen some of those like antiqued, or not antique, but those like vintage photographs of, they sell like Christmas cards. I don't know, maybe you guys don't know it because we don't buy Christmas cards anymore, but some of those Christmas cards that used to be pretty cool. To me, I like the vintage looking photographs sometimes when I'd see photographs of like Christmas, a Christmas scene or a winter scene, and it'd almost be like a sepia print. And I like those kind of Christmas cards like that. But so we can stamp our own types of things out, with this aged looking paper, but not with the spooky kind of scenarios like this. But what I'm getting at is, just this little bit of gold around on here, or we can add in, if you have, a Christmassy scene in here with the winter wonderland or something like that on trees, you can, if you're having it reflected like this with gold, or you just have that gold border like this for your matting, it'd be fun to go in and add in kind of gold elements into your scene. So you're bringing some of that metallic up into that other area. Again, in a winter, Christmas scenario, not Halloween. So just thinking out loud here. But anyways, yeah, I think this will be kind of a combination that I'll have to try to remember here going forward with the things. So Linda, so we have there's gold, silver, and red. Could we use red, Linda, for a Halloween scenario down here for this reflected area? I don't know, it might be too dark, but if we have something that's light enough and contrasty enough, reflecting down the red, maybe it would work. Oh, no, this isn't the red. I don't know if I have that here. Here, let me show you what these things look like too in the silver. So here's a piece of the silver stock, right? Okay. So this is the tone, this kind of weathered, aged tone with the gold like this, and this is what it looks like with the silver. I think it still looks pretty cool. But I think that, I don't know, what do you guys think? Gold or silver? Preference there? And let's see. And here's the silver with this one. Now, some of you like that silver more. The silver kind of, when I think of it, it looks kind of like pewter to me or something like that. I don't think it looks bad. And had I not used the gold, I wouldn't have been thinking about it. But having already seen the gold like that in that warm tone, because remember the gold is kind of reflecting up here a little bit too. The silver reflects more light up here. So I think I prefer the gold personally. I don't know what you guys think. But yeah. It looks a little bit more aged too. Hello, Jen. eyes at the back of her head. Well, it's supposed to be looking towards us. But it could be. I need her eyes could be a little bit brighter or something like that too. But thanks, Yvonne. I'm glad you like it. I like the look too, with this pairing here. So antique paper, and there's some antique paper too. I have ones that I haven't tried yet. That it's because they have less of a vignette on it. But there's some of this paper pack here. I thought I saw some that, yeah, like see this one right here? That one's even more kind of warm, you know, a warmer tone. That might even pair, you know, even nicer with the gold. So, you know, like that. Look at that pairing like that in there. So a little bit more of this reddish tinge to it. I haven't used this one yet because it doesn't have like as strong of a vignette to it. I don't know, but there's a bunch of different ones in here. And these packs too, these packs from what I saw, you know, so far, I don't know, I didn't scroll through a ton of them, but these packs, you know, it's just your standard like copy paper text weight thickness. So they tend to be, you tend to get a lot of them with your, you know, whatever purchase. So, I don't know. But after using some Star Dream papers too, and I was typically buying cardstock or cover weight in the past, but after I went with a text weight, that really sold me on text weight papers, and not really needing, you know, the cover stock one for thickness because I'm mounting it up anyway. And sometimes when I found I was working with a thinner piece of paper, with a thicker piece, sometimes if I'm adding a lot of media to it, it tends to start bowing on me, you know, when the media dries. But the thinner one is just so thin. I would have thought it would kind of ripple, but it, I don't know, I guess not enough media gets absorbed into the pulp of the paper, you know, because it's thinner, so it stays flatter, you know, to me. Not for everything, you know, but I don't know, it works, I don't know, just fine. Or the Recollections holographics are really thin and cheap. But then if they start bowing, I bow them back, and it's easier to bow things back and flatten it out than a thicker piece. So I don't know. I still like to feel the weight of the thicker piece when working on it, but as far as like practical application, I don't know. I'm fine with like a thin surface these days. Okay, CM likes the gold. Okay, the silver works well and not as warm. It's more reflective though, isn't it? And it's reflecting more of that light up on the top portion. Yeah, the silver's more Halloweenish to you. Okay. For me, this one was the gold to me, because I think this looks murkier to me. Let's take a look at that again here. So see this right here. I don't know. That looks pretty good. You know what I'd like to do with the silver, I think? If you had like, you'd have to kind of darken in the area around it, but if you had like this red, like, you know, when those sunrises goes down away on the horizon and it looks like blood red sometime, I think that would look good. And it might be better on the silver because the gold might darken up, you know, a red too much, where you wouldn't be able to see a silhouette in front of it. Not that we have to put something in front of it. I mean, you can have like a red setting sun up here, you know, where it's not obscured, but I don't know if it would read as kind of a light source up there on the gold where, you know, it might on the more reflective silver. I don't know, you know. I don't know. We'll have to do some tests with that. That's what you're here for, Linda. You usually come up like 5 versions of that, you know, like tomorrow of what we talked about in these, you know, these live streams. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing what that looks like here. The The eyes work almost like she was wearing a mask and looking for her prey. Could be. Like I said, we need to put like something. It would be cool with something in their hand. Like I said, like a sickle or something like that. I think it would be really cool. Vintage Scrap Girl likes both. I don't know. We can do some different scenarios. I like these scenarios up here too. Oh. Okay, so you know those photo prints or the photographs for photo stamping, right? What if you took, you know, those cloud files? Because I have to think that you can run this paper through like an inkjet printer, right? Because I think that's what this is. I think that these papers, I think that's the way they, you know, kind of promote them. You print on them. So what if you take and you do some, you know, prints of clouds or whatever, lightning, and you print it on that paper, and then you can stamp on that, you know. You might have to work around, you might have to figure out what's going to work over inkjet, you know, or laser toner, you know, in terms of stamping on it, but I have a feeling that the Brilliance would cover that. It's just a matter of would it dry on there really well. So I'm not talking about like, I don't know if I wouldn't stamp like blue tones in here or something like that, although that might work, but I would imagine like a sunset type of thing if you're working with color on the top of these prints. But like I said, you know, if you're going that heavy with the toner, it might resist some inks, or when you're stamping on top of that inkjet toner on this paper, it might lift it off. I don't know. But I think that would be pretty cool to go with. You have some cool Edward Gorey. You got Edward Gorey stickers. What? That is interesting. Are they vintage or something like that? Or, huh? That sounds pretty cool. And no, see, Edward Gorey stickers. If I saw Edward Gorey stickers somewhere, I would have picked those up at some point in time. So these are the Edward Gorey books, by the way, that I have right here. This one I found in a used bookstore, but then like a couple years later they released his, like a bunch of different books, including like these really small books of his. So these are really fun stuff. So he stamps all kinds of like funky things. So when I saw this in a used bookstore, I was like, oh my God, you know, but little scenarios like this, you know. Fun little things, so you can see kind of the spirit of where that little creature came from, like that. Okay, anyway, I learned some things on this one, not just what this combination would look like, but I'm getting better impressions on the pre-printed paper just from holding down the stamp, you know, to transfer the ink a lot longer. Maybe like 3 times as long as I was doing before. When I was stamping quickly, like ink up, stamp, you know, like this, it was giving me like a 50% at most ink transfer. So play around with your timing on your impressions too. You know what I mean? If you want to go for something like a really deep impression and it's not working for you, just hold it down longer and see if that transfer and the, you know, allowing a little bit of drying time might help. But and I'd test some different ones. The stays on, if you hold it down longer on there, if you're trying something like that, it might, you know, it might lift off with the rubber instead of transferring onto the paper. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I was thinking, Candy. Yeah, you're going to use those stickers, the actual stickers then? Unless that, yeah, you can print them onto, sticker paper or something like that, especially if you can't get them anymore, you know? All right, folks. You know, hope you are all staying nice and it's not warm right now. It's stay nice and cool, you know. And I don't know, stamp some nice, you know, I don't know, whatever. I don't know, do these look like, I don't know what temperature this looks like. It looks like it could be warm, but it's supposed to be October, you know, like October, you know, types of scenarios, so it wouldn't be too warm in these locations right there. Or just stamp some winter scenes, you know, and do you know, stamp it on this vintage paper, splatter paint it, look at, you know, it's like snow coming down or something like that, and that would be a pretty good use of the vintage paper as well. Yeah, vintage. Yeah, that was cool. There's a bunch of if you haven't seen them, watch for look up Edward Gorey on YouTube here, and I think there was a an interview with him. There's not too much information out there, you know, or documentation. You know, it seemed, at least at the time I was looking him up, maybe a couple years ago or something like that. I've looked him up more in the past too, but there was like limited, you know, materials out there. So yeah, not a whole lot of you know, interviews or whatever things for like a documentary at all. All right. What are we calling these? The mirrored, mirrored monster doesn't sound. I like alliterations. The mirrored. I don't know. Gruesome. The mirrored. Whatever. Ghoulish reflection cards. I know that doesn't sound right, but I can't think of anything else right now. Checking out the mirrored ghoulish reflection cards. So if you stamp anything out for Halloween, we want to see them. Open up a Flickr account and post your pieces up in there. Or, you know, join us in the Stampscapes 2 Facebook group. What was the challenge, right? The challenge, Linda, was the challenge reflection cards, or were they like were they Halloween reflection cards or something like that? Or I didn't even look. I didn't know what aspect of that card that you posted to mine was, or was it a Horizon card? You know. But you can see some different takes on you know, these different types of formats up there in the group. But Linda sets it all up like that. So anyways, thanks to Linda, and yeah, hope to see you in all different avenues of the web as far as Stampscapes themes go. All right, folks, I can't stop looking at these pieces right here. I really like the look of this this combination right here. It's kind of like a little bit different, you know. I've been going hotter and hotter and hotter on the top portions like that with the holographic types of things, you know what I mean, to get it more like amped up. But this is like real mellow looking pieces, and I really like that. You know, that kind of emotional quality too to them. It's like just different, you know, but it's, you know, utilizing that same format of, you know, the reflected, you know, whatever construction. Okay, reflection, okay, Horizon card are both great. So check out her, you know, check out Linda's awesome Halloween piece up there too. Thanks, Susan. Glad you like it. Make a Horizon or reflection card. You'll love it. You know. When you do these cards too, if you're doing it for the first time, man, when you put these two like elements together like that, you know, when you're working on them separately, or you're kind of putting them up against one another like that as you're working on them, it's really exciting because it looks really three-dimensional or something like that. It looks like you're looking into a monitor or something like that to me, or I don't know. It maybe it doesn't look like that, but it's kind of the spirit of it, where you get this three-dimensional thing kind of happening in there, like a hologram or something like that almost, you know. So, and then you'll have all kinds of different things come to mind. I think, like after you do like two of them, you get kind of in that mindset. It's like, oh my God, I want to do that card that you did before, but you want it in a Horizon card. So even if it's like just some stamp up here, and it's not a scene, it's like a word stamp or something like that up there, but now you got it reflected down here, it's kind of fun. And then you kind of imagine people, when you're sending it to someone, what they're going to be thinking about when they're opening it up like that too. You know what I mean? Because it's like a reveal or something like that. Where the reveal with normal cards is, it's when they take it out of the envelope, but then when they look at something like that, and you have some kind of word stamp, in here or something like that, and they're doing this, you know what I mean? It's kind of exciting, especially if they haven't seen that before too, you know what I mean? So, yeah. And people know what to do with them too. Someone said, well, how are they going to know not to look at it like this? But, I've sent them to a couple people, and, I didn't need to explain to them, what about, you know what I mean? And that's when I got more like comments like, hey, I just got your card, really cool card, whereas sometimes, you know what I mean? Like with family, I might not hear, someone getting that and, replying so fast. So I don't know. You know what I mean? As card makers, that's, the good thing to hear from people, that they got a little bit excited about it. So anyway, all right, I'm rambling on. Okay. Have a good night, everyone. Good weekend. Stay cool, everyone. And we'll see you on the next live, hopefully.